So just take your time. All right, so what happened, we had this thing at 644, so we do change mod 40 works. So now I do I association to the server again. What? Great, I am in, right? And then you know what Ubuntu server it is. Normally you use the latest stable version. Okay, so what are the steps, guys? How do you set up a Rails server to run on this? Good. Install Ruby. So how do you install Ruby? Okay, RVM.
Let's go to the REST.
You know,
That should be a default Ruby already. But,
yeah, so let's not use that. Let's use RVM.
yeah.
Security, and you don't want it. The default Ruby is so you first you shake hand. You say, hey, it's okay to download from this guy, and then you copy this. You don't want to run Ruby from root. You want to run Ruby from your, the account, right? User, deploy user. Okay, so let's install Ruby. So that's first step. What else? After installing Ruby, what else do we do? Come on, think about all the.
Install Rails, install SQL, install Postgres.
Oh man, so many.
Already.
Oh man, I'm gonna install everything from my phone, so we'll see. Let's see if it works.
Actually, I think you can.
Yeah,
Wi-Fi now.
I'll use Wi-Fi because it wasn't the Wi-Fi's problem.
Problem is not. It's because of your security group.
My security group. That's good. So install Ruby. It's not enough. Let's write out a few things. Install RVM. Now install Ruby. RVM install 2.3.1, right?
You have installed
Actually,
I think.
everything you do in here, it doesn't affect your network, right? Because
Here's the problem. You're installing RVM too early. I'm installing it for the Ubuntu user. Well, I actually want to create a deploy user. Okay? So, but for the sake of this, what I really want is the first thing is like this. Set up a deploy user so that later anyone who you deploy your Rails app, you run as a deploy user. This Ubuntu user is powerful. It gives you the root access stuff, right? You don't over time you don't want people to log in as root. You don't want people to log in as deploy. Just regular user stuff. Right. Let me pull up some my
You have
notes
to
here.
run the source to enable the RVM first.
We also need to run RVM. Yes, correct. So let's forget about RVM at the moment. We need server stuff, database stuff. So if you Google, then these are the things you need. Sudo apt-get, PostgreSQL, Postgres contrib, this is extra stuff, and libpqueue. Def is like C extension, and this library. So that's quite important. Install PostgreSQL and anything related. Something that accept your data coming in. You need server. Is that an internet problem? That's really sad. Unable to fetch.
Oh, you need a
Yeah, sudo apt-get update. Well, that's usually, that's another thing that's easy to get. Before you install a bunch of crap like this. Alright. Done. You also need to install what's called Nginx. You also need to install Git. See, it's quite fun. So, by the way, Postgres, let's install, create a user. You also have to do that later, right? How do I install Git? Alright, here. See, Heroku does all of this for you. That's why life is so great. What I just pasted is I install Nginx, sudo apt-get install Nginx, and then Git core. So you have all this Git stuff. Okay, well, let's create a new deploy user, right? So Who knows how to create a user? Can you like do some Googling? We're almost there.
User.
Who know how to create a user?
User act.
I'm going to create a deploy Postgres stuff for now. So Postgres is, here's how Postgres on Heroku works. It's a bit different from your Mac. If you use a Mac sudo, so you can actually change to be a Postgres user like this. Okay?
Yeah.
And well, if you have Postgres run, I think after installing Postgres earlier, I didn't run it properly. And then so then you can create user, but what happens to my Postgres thing? There must be some instruction. Okay, let's Ubuntu Rails install Rails 2 Rails 5 let me find the, I don't actually use DigitalOcean that much. I think I have the version that's better. It's the same. DigitalOcean is a little cleaner. Alright, keep thinking, right? Like, give idea to help other people. Okay, add user, right? So, add user, deploy, and then of course you need sudo to it. Okay, what is my password? Maybe I just say deploy123, deploy123, name is deploy, room number 123, work phone, whatever, I don't care anymore, information is correct, done. So what we want is to be able to, from outside, from here now you can SSH into that as deploy user, and I need to find that IP address, like this guy, and it should work. How do you make it work? So in here you can sudo, you can actually pretend to be another user. Actually, is it like that? Deploy. So you see I'm in deploy now, and I go to an SSH folder. I don't have one, so I create one. And you need to set the mod for SSH to be just yourself, no group, no other people. So it's 600 because 4 plus 2 is actually you need to, it's a directory, you have to be able to enter it. So it's 7, so 4 plus 2 plus 1, and go to SSH. Okay, so in this folder, okay, it's empty, but if you create a file called authorized keys, that's fine, right? All right, so I'm going to copy and paste my public keys and then put in here. So I go in here and I will just, you know, this file. And I will add the content from this file. So I just copy and paste the string and paste in here. Okay. Now let's try SSH into it. No, still not works. Right? So now you have this, but this is not good because what if you want to go to this folder and then you want to display all the things in here? You can go to a temp folder, for example, go to something like var folder. You see, oh, that's weird. This user, you should not give this user this access. Oh yeah, they give, but you cannot, you know, this user still cannot do like sudo apt-get. I think so, right? Apt-get update. Because deploy 123, right? User is not an admin. How do you fix this? Right? So you give this user the root permission. Okay. So one way is to add this user to a group called a sudo group. So you can add it to a sudo group. This is a little crazy. Then you go to the sudo file and then give the sudo group the sudo power. So that's similar to what this guy does. G password, add the deploy user to sudo group. And you cannot do this over here, but you have to be root, and you do the same thing now. G password sudo. Alright, so you do this. Or, you know, if you fancy, you can just type the same thing again. Alright, so you add user deploy to this group. Let's see if I can run this yet. Deploy 1, 2, 3. Right, so the sudo group, you have to edit it. Like in vsudo file, so sudo, actually type vsudo, and of course you have to run sudo with it. This file is very dangerous. If you miss it and you don't have another, see, it's not even vim, so then it's easy to make mistake. Down here, allow members of this group to execute any command. So this should work. What you want eventually in your ideal setting, what I like, is to set India as a no password policy. So if you deploy user, when you mean to use as a normal person, you don't use sudo. Only very rarely when you use sudo, then what? When you use sudo, then you type sudo, and you don't need to enter password. That is important because when you deploy from your laptop, you don't want to go over here and then it just hangs because it waits for the password. Does it make sense? So I actually, I'm going to copy what I create in, because I cannot remember everything. So let's see if this guy has what I need. Uh-oh, it's so slow. Alright, so I did this step already. Wait, come on. Did I misspell? Did the internet just stop working?
Up and down.
That is really sad. Okay. Ah, I typed wrong. It's too small, man. Huh? Is it okay? Come on. Okay, this is really sad. Maybe try another server. Alright, it's not working. Can someone give me SSH access? Edward Snowden. Come on, man. Alright, in the meantime. Alright, so I'll find out if they have it here. So you can Google. It's a little harder to find. Sudo passwordless. And it's everywhere because this is one of the key steps. Only rarely you need sudo, but if you ever need it, go in here and then you can use something like this. Password all. And it's very easy to make this mistake. Where is it? Here, right? So what's happening? I can maybe paste, and also the order is very important. So if somehow you have the sudo group here and you're part of a user group up there, that thing will overwrite. So all is all. Okay, I still need to set up Postgres, huh? It's okay. Okay, does it look good? And then can save, yes. Good. If you use vsudo, it will check the syntax before it's saved. If you edit the file directly like this, like sudo ers or something, then it will not check the syntax, and if you make a mistake, you can never log into your server again. Fun. Okay. Then maybe, I don't know, would it work? If I log in as deploy, let's try. What's going on? Over here I can actually type stuff. Okay, here and then sudo apt-get update. Awesome. So there's no more password. This is huge, right? You actually not a root, but you are. But when you call sudo, you can do it, right? Okay, great. I think I'm getting closer to being able to deploy. What else? I have nginx. I have git. Nginx is a server that you can say, oh, anything that go to this domain can now go to my server, and I can serve the Rails app. Now, I have the deploy user. I can deploy. Yeah, we need Postgres. But let's look at the app you guys just built. Okay. So this app right now, I'm going to introduce. If you use Capistrano, who here has used Capistrano before? Okay. So there are two tools, Capistrano versus Mina. Capistrano, it will open. It's very popular. It's the most popular in the Rails world. You say cap deploy. It will connect by SSH, and then it will run the code and run it from here over SSH every time you run a command line. Okay, so we will like create a folder. You're deploying, right? Git pull. Go here, do this. But it's slow. So, but it's more reliable. There's something else called Mina. So I'm going to add the Mina gem. Let's go look at Mina. Mina is cool. It runs on the server. So it SSH into the server and then it runs everything there. So it's faster. Now the problem is the documentation is a little out of date. So if you run into a problem, just you can ask me. I've seen some people struggle a little bit. Should be okay unless you do some crazy things. So gem. So you bundle this, and then you call Mina init. Let's see what it does. All right, it create a deploy.rb file. Let's look into the deploy.rb. Capistrano create a similar file. Now you guys have to read this file carefully with me to understand. Mina will say, oh, I understand you are a Rails app. You use Git, so it has the convention. Okay, you say, oh, I'm going to push it to the domain. What is my domain? I don't have a domain yet, so I'm going to push it to my IP address, this one. Okay, and deploy to. Here's completely up to you. Okay, some people put var or something. So, like for example, I can call it code install. Usually for production, you can name it your domain name. You can name it like this, the production version. You can deploy to staging using a different URL. But this is a folder it will create. Okay, that sounds good. www. Some people you will see like this apps. I like that sometimes, or even Rails, whatever you name it. You probably only have one app, but if you have a lot. Repository, so we need that obviously. So git, what is the repository here? I'll show you a trick. Git, I think I usually use this trick. I forgot the so let's look at any of my my deploy script. This is my trick. It's a bit bigger. Scroll up. Here, you say repository. You just get it from Git. So I just copy and paste this code. Okay. So instead of repeating yourself, right? I call it from Git, similar to the gem file. You can use git ls remote. Branch, you just deploy master, or you can override it if you like. You can override it with the branch environment variable, right? So you can say set the variable and you can deploy it. I'll show you how later. So that sounds good. Setup, it understands it's a Rails app. I think it doesn't understand it's an RVM thing yet, so let's just run it and see what happens. Okay, so all you do, you add the Mina gem, and then what do we do? See, this is a bit a problem. Let's see. I think it's called Mina setup. You can put extra tasks in Mina setup. Over time, if you want the job easier for your friends, oh, why can't I go up? This is messed up. Okay, it's fine. Mina setup. All right. Problem. Permission denied. I don't know what user I am yet, right? Here, set user. I need to set it to be deploy. Okay. Here's another cool thing. Mina setup now is able to deploy into the server. SSH into the server, right? And then it cannot create this directory. That's good because you don't want deploy to be able to just create random directory and go to random places, right? So I have to go into here and I go to this var thing and then you say make dir apps and make dir Rails, for example. Yeah. Or let me just quit my Slack channel. It's a little annoying. Okay. I don't like calling it Rails. So let's just call it apps. Okay. www. Alright, let's call it apps. Story of my life. I just changed my opinion all the time. Oh, like that. But you also need code store. So, yeah. So you can do this as root, right? Sudo make dir / if you want to create many directory at the same time. So this var / what? Apps / coder store, right? Let's just highlight coder store. This is not the name of your Rails app. This is more like name of production. So I'm just gonna call it coder store production or something like that. Coder store. Okay. Coder store. I hate myself. All right, coder store. Now you have this thing. I think this is good. Save it and run it again. Troubleshoot. Error development, driven development. Now what's the problem next?
Cannot.
Exactly. So you already know. So you can change whatever. So go to apps, go to store. Yeah, correct, right? Now here, now you can let the deploy guy, right, change. So you should sudo change ownership. You want deploy, you can just say deploy : what group deploy, or just say user, that's fine. But I just put both group. The current thing, you also want it to be recursive, like everything under it. Okay, so look, now it's deployed. So if you say ... is the root, right? Now you can do make dir by the deploy user. Guess what's gonna happen next? You cannot pull from GitHub. GitHub failed, right? GitHub doesn't know where you're pulling from. How can you fix it? Do you go to this server and you create an SSH public key and then you go to GitHub and then put this public key of this place there? Makes sense, right? That is correct. That's one acceptable way. You can pick any repo and you go to settings and there's a deploy keys. You can only use this key once. So you can actually put the key here and this key can always, pull from GitHub. Read only access. Git only access. But let's for convenience, how about if I am trying to access, GitHub, but I can access from my computer. If I go into the server, it's still me, right? So you tell this guy to say forward SSH agent. So when you SSH, there's a syntax that say, hey, when you go in, remember my public key here, and then when you go into the server, use this public key to pull from GitHub. Okay? And it's still not working. I don't like that. What happened? I think that should be enough.
Why don't you use HTTPS?
Yes, sure. You can change this to HTTPS, but then you have to enter the password, username and password. Oh, if it's a public
You only need
folder, then that's fine. To be honest, I'm not sure if I install everything over there correctly. So libssh. Let's just say, I'm not sure if this is gonna work. SSH forward agent close whatever. That's a good way. If you have a public repo, you may not have to care.
I have never used private repo.
Okay. This sucks because I think this is all I did. So let me just look into this file, right? Vim config/deploy. This is one of our client. Well, this is the project from my school, and I'm just doing that. User deploy forward agent. It's a domain though, so in SSH you also have config. Yes, you can set it global. So you can actually say anything, you can say forward agent. So let's say if I say word host and I paste this IP address in, and I say forward agent, yes, then hopefully it can work. That's one way to set it. But maybe I need to restart. That's not fun. Git pull. Oh no, how can I make sure this works now? Okay, let's use the HTTP version. What is the URL, guys? Here, open git. This one, right? codeschool/codestore. Very quickly, I'm just using up another 5 minutes. So changes to HTTP. Okay. And technically, I can also use, so you see in this other SSH, this is a private version, right? The one that uses SSH. You can use the Git protocol. That may also work. It's public. Okay, so, hey. Did we open outbound? Did we open this guy? All traffic? Yes, right? So it should be able to do that. Let's say if I go here, if I say git clone this guy, it should work, right? Right. For example, right? It should work. The way this is structured, you see, I don't just git clone like this. I have a releases folder. So every time you deploy, it creates a new release. It keeps the last 5 releases. Right? Let's just remove this guy right now because I don't need it. Let's go in here. There's some problem. We don't have any release because we still can't pull. I'm not sure what the problem is. Okay, let's just commit this, right? Because when you deploy, this is reading it locally. I don't think you need to. So git remote -v origin codestore. That makes sense. Set repository. Why do I need HTTP? Why does it still complain setup? There's something wrong with this thing right here. It's unfortunate. I will have to look into it. Okay, so I'll explain to you based on and something that if after you after let's say you're successful, I use the blue sky repo to show. Okay. Okay, so let's say if everything's set up, it looks like this. I'll just remove this guy. I have an app here. In fact, I have a not just deploy.rb. Over time, this doesn't matter for your project, but you know when you work in a real company, you actually separate the configuration into production.rb and staging.rb. Very similar to your environments folder, right? And in your, as you can see, in your staging and production, they are just. I have in staging, I have a task that like copied data from production server to staging server. So it's similar to like Heroku when you clone thing. And the only difference in production server is that I tell it to deploy to a different path. So it's really cool because if you, I do this right now, I pull the latest changes. Mina setup is already done, right? Every time now you want to deploy, instead of git push Heroku master, you run Mina deploy. But because I create two environments, so of course I have to say Mina production deploy. It's an extra setup, but for your work, if you want to deploy to your server, you say Mina deploy. Okay? And it's cool. See what it does. It detects, right? Like, oh, I'm using Ruby gems. I know I'm in RVM, and then set up the gems path. Git clone, pull everything, install. Bundle install, do migration, compiling assets, and you know what? This is 100 times faster than Heroku.
How like if we have an update, so we need to deploy the update.
Yeah.
Do we need to like?
You push to the branch and then Mina deploy. It will just pull from that branch and then run. But if there are no changes, there are no changes in asset. It doesn't do anything. So sometimes deploy just take like 5 seconds. Heroku always take more because you.
Not talking about instead of production performance is Heroku is better.
This will be better because one, you can choose it to be in Southeast Asia. That's what I do there. Two, you can choose how much memory you have. So even the trial version, you have 1 gigabyte of memory and 8 gigabyte of hard disk. Heroku, the whole thing you push to Heroku is only 200 megabytes slot. If you make it like 500, it starts complaining it's too big.
Yeah.
However, and this is more flexible, of course, but there are so many things you have to worry about. So you see, I deploy everything, and then what's cool is it creates a new folder there, the release. It only keeps the 5 releases, right? And then there is a current folder. So there's a releases folder. There's a current folder. Current is just a symbolic link. It links to the latest release. So you can CD into this path, and you will find the Rails, app in there. So let's do that, right? SSH deploy. Did I enter Blue Sky in there? SSH deploy at new. Let's see. This is really stubborn. Somehow I can't SSH regularly. Weird, right? I can deploy, but okay. So you go in there. So you say cd, go to this var apps Blue Sky site, and this is something you need to know. All right. So there's a current. So because there is releases, it keep track of the past 5, 6, whatever releases. And you can go to current, which point to the 11th thing here. And in here, this is your Rails code. And it just copy and dump it here. Now, some questions. Wait, every time you dump here, what about some files that I need, like a log file or some things that are...
Okay,
what happens?
So you're sending them to another.
Right. What if you actually don't use Amazon, but you upload all your images to the public uploads folder. You want all of them to share the same thing, right? So that is data, and this is this is logic code. This is code, and there's data. What else is good? Some YAML files like database.yaml that you don't want to change. You just set it once. Okay, some files that you git ignore but exist on the server. So there is a structure there. There's a share folder that's quite common. So in this share folder, it contains something that is shared across the apps. So you see I have a log folder. In this log, I have the production.log file that will keep getting bigger. But in the kernel structure, you see log, it points to the shared log. So these are the conventions, when you deploy Rails app. So it's cool. Even temp, you could actually use the same. It depends. It's not important. Inside this temp, there's a cache folder, there's a PID, process IDs folder. It actually points to the guys inside here, not the parent, points to the parent. Does it make sense? Now, how does it know that? There's some convention, but as you can actually set up here shared files. So you can say, hey, all the I need my secrets.yaml file. Remember, it's not you can either use environment variable for secrets for database or in database.yaml here, you may actually enter the password in there. If you do that, then you should git ignore this file. If you put the key token in, you should git ignore this file and then keep it shared on the server. That's solution number one. Solution number two, push them here, but tell these files to use environment variables. But it's harder to set environment variables if you deploy to your own server because you have to know a little bit more. I can explain that, but to Heroku, it's very easy to set up an environment variable. But to this, you have to understand, the RVM setting. I need to put the environment variable here. Okay? So there's some extra setting. I can show the complete setting of this Blue Sky app, which is Blue Sky. Okay, that's it. Sorry. New Blue Sky. Cat. No, it just goes there. See, so I do a little bit more. Syntax is quite easy to write, but I tell it to use RVM321. Oh, you see, I share the folder PID sockets, Rails stuff, and that's pretty much it. This is just extra variables so that you can use them. In setup, you see, you can set up like Mina setup. You can do sudo, create some folders, app folder if you want to make everything simpler. That's what I do. I create these folders because if you want these folders to be shared, you have to create them yourself. So either you can do it by hand or use the Mina setup script.
Actually, it's tricky. I often use go to the people.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not very bad practice.
Which one? Git pull for master.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is better, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to. Yes. A lazy way is to go to the server, git pull from there, and then run Rails. I know you do that. Rails server and bind it to the port. And that server is very weak. So right now we don't know how to make the server run yet. I can show you more scripts. Like you have to install Nginx that connects with Rails. But the integration, the best combination I use actually Nginx, Passenger, Rails. Nginx is a web server. Passenger is a web app server, and Rails, Rails interface with that. So Rails normally come with WebBrick server built in, but now Rails come with Puma. So Puma can work with Nginx, but Puma is actually very annoying to set up. On Heroku, it's really easy, and Passenger is just similar to Puma.
That's why.
And then you're like, okay. That's why to say I just do Rails server and I just open this port. That's not good because that the thing can crash and all of that. You can, if you set up properly, you can monitor this. It will come back up on live.
It is more secure and
But don't worry if you Google. I mean, yeah, it's easy. I'll show you guys the extra resources to set it up. So similarly, DigitalOcean is just a little bit easier to set up the first few steps. With DigitalOcean, you don't need to worry so much about like some of the AMI, this crazy stuff. But the principle is the same. DigitalOcean is quite cheap, $5, $10, super cheap. You get some credit. If you use it, please use my referral link so we get credit, right? And it's a root URL. Okay. So here's the complete instruction, right? So install RVM, install Mina, set it up, and it's a bit crazy. So this is every time I work on any project, I make sure the person I work with, I have to explain, oops, I have some secret password up there, how to set up the server so you don't forget. Because if disaster happens, you're going to follow the same step again. Even though you only do it once, you have to write it down. So every time I set up a server, I always write this. Okay? And in this case, because I have a developer working on this, so I make sure that I wrote this so the person understand why I choose passenger, how I tell passenger where to find Ruby. And yeah, so it's like that. Oh, again, that's my secret key again. Not good. And any question about deployment?
how to have a live more secure than you.
Postgres. You need to add row.
Yeah, Postgres. Technically, so after you install, Postgres should be up, and then you create the deploy user. That's a very good question. You need to create the same username. Like on your Mac, like you don't have a Postgres user, but on Linux, you need to get there. So for example, here, sudo, you can change the Postgres user, then you can become the super user in the Postgres world. And then it gives you a syntax, so you can say create user, and this you can say this user deploy, and then you can go into the again you can run the sudo Postgres first, and you don't have to worry about typing it every time. You run psql, not SQL, and then you can set the password for deploy. Then in your Ruby on Rails app, you can use the deploy user, and you can put in the password in the database YAML file, or you can put it in your environment variable. But you have to give this guy a permission to do what? To create new databases. So you can create and then migrate. So that your RakeDB create will work.
Is it default to give the permission to create the database when you create the user?
If you do it like this, I think so, yeah. Yeah. And then there's extra security stuff here. Disable login by password. So if anyone knows your password, still cannot log in. You actually only allow logging in by SSH key. Then it's more secure. But of course, if you mess up, and if you only have one security key, SSH public key, and you somehow your computer crashed and you didn't back up that key, then it doesn't work. Okay? Yeah. This is the simpler version. If I turn off my video now, I'll show you the more advanced version.